Sai Baba, for me, and me personally, is the person who in the past, in the present, in the future, I am tethered to as close as I can be to anything for eternity.
How Baba has transformed your life for you must have 100 different answers.
The answer may surprise you because it surprises me as I was trying to formulate it. I am with him. He has convinced me, and I deeply believe, and he has told me directly that he's with me, that he's above me, behind me, on my left and on my right. I do not believe that Satya Sai's universal message will actually ever be a universal message unless the Western world is back with him.
You told an amazingly wonderful story today about how you almost became arrested.
A lawyer and a former San Francisco police captain, Mike Hebel tells the incredible story of how his own city's police department discovered him in a possible drug sting, filling small baggies with a white powder, which turned out to be Sri Satya Sai Baba's Vibhuti, sacred healing ash, not drugs.
And we are putting together these packets. A person passed by, saw through the shades a group of individuals putting together powder into these bags.
That person then called the police, and the rest is quite a story. Welcome to Souljourns, and to the spiritual development of Mike Hebel. This interview was recorded in San Francisco, California in November 2015.
And I was a devotee of Paramahansa Yogananda, and I was visiting all of the places that are mentioned in the autobiography of a yogi.
So you must have come to Encinitas where he wrote the book.
Well, of course, I've done all of that. But I was on the trip to India, and it occurred there. Went to Bangalore. I had this book, Holy Man and Psychiatrist. And
by Dr. Sam Samwise.
Sam Samwise. I asked the tour guide about this, and the tour guide said, oh yeah, Baba's in Bangalore. And this was 1980. Went to see Swami in 1980 in Bangalore. There were no more than 200 people.
I was going to say the crowds must have
been very tiny.
Crowds
were tiny, and he came out, and not really a whole lot happened for me. And we went there the next day and the day after. Not a great deal happened for me, and it was only later where I was very devoted to Paramahansa Yogananda. I had to make up a judgment to go for a living guru or Paramahansa Yogananda. And after 2 years or so, I had a dream. And in the dream, I was sitting at a table, and a gardener who approached me, who was Paramahansa Yogananda, came up and introduced me to Satya Sai Baba. And then Paramahansa Yogananda went into the background, Satya Sai Baba stayed. So it was pretty clear to me that I was to go with Satya Sai Baba.
Who do you think, this is an academic silly question, who do you think in your heart of hearts was the catalyst to form that dream in your head? Yogananda or Sai Baba? Or both?
For me it's both, because I had such a struggle. I believe what Swami says, that find a guru, dig a deep well and stay there. And I had a deep well with Paramahansa Yogananda.
But you chose to vacate that well.
I vacated it because Yogananda, I will say that in the dream, Yogananda gave me permission.
Well, that's a great way to put it. And you've never looked back since then?
I have not. I'm still very fond of him. I read or listen to the tapes of Autobiography of a Yogi every 2 to 3 years. I still love that story, and I still love him deeply.
Today you mentioned that this is the 25th anniversary of Region 7, I think, or was it of the Sai Baba Center in San Francisco?
No, the Sai Baba Center in San Francisco was actually formed in 1974, so they're celebrating their 41st year. But this is the 25th anniversary of our region as it's currently geographically and administratively constituted.
And you were not only the local Sai Center president, but the regional president as well?
Well, I was the regional president in the early 90s, and I was also the vice president on the Satya Sai Council of the USA.
A question that's, I'll just ask it because I feel prodded to do it, and it hurts a little bit, but I'm supposed to learn and take from everything as treasure, whether it's pleasant or hurtful. what's hurtful is I don't see so many Westerners, Americans, as much as I saw almost 20 years ago in American Sai centers. How do you handle that yourself? You got to be honest.
It is hurtful. The hurtful part is when I first came to the San Francisco Center in 1980,
You were all Western. I
it
bet.
was 80 to 85% Westerners. And the center of, the locus of devotion was in the San Francisco Bay Area going north. So it was San Francisco, Marin, Santa Rosa area. And down here in where we are now, in the San Jose area, there was hardly anything. By about 1990, 1992, the whole thing had shifted. Not only was the locus in Southern in the southern part of the region, in the San Jose area, but the whole shift in devotee makeup. So I look today, and today I look around. I'm really well accepted in this community. I love this community, but it is 99% people who have of Indian ancestry and 2% Westerners.
And don't misunderstand me. My reason is because this is my selfish reason, I guess. I would like to be able to share this with more of the people I know who are from the region or from my home state area. And it just seems like either that ship has gone off to sea already, or maybe I'm premature and that day will come back again for Baba devotees.
So my hope is that that day comes back. I am not certain that it will, but I do not believe that Satya Sai's universal message will actually ever be a universal message unless the Western world is back with him. And I certainly in this region do not see that.
Very briefly, some of the highlights of your tenure here. You were regaling us this morning with stories from the Sai Center's first address on Ivy Street in San Francisco. That sounds like it must have been a storied time when people would come from all walks of life.
It started in 1974 in San Francisco by a man named Don Heath and Howard Levin. Don Heath was a nurse at San Francisco General Hospital. He took many trips to India, and he would bring devotees with him to India. He was a wonderful, charismatic man. He spoke lovingly of Sai Baba, and people were attracted to him. And they went with him to India. They were attracted to the center. So the center, when I got there in 1980, really began to develop. And it got so large that microphones had to be put up on the second floor because the bhajan room and the hallway and the staircase could no longer handle the people who would show up both on Thursday and Sunday evenings. Lots of people came through. Almost every center that's formed in this region of 21 centers now, almost every center had its origin in San Francisco. That is, people who came through San Francisco, saw what was being done, the bhajans, the devotional singing, the service projects, the teachings, and they were encouraged to form their own centers, and they did. So it was really a mother center or center generator in San Francisco.
And you mentioned several other names today in your talk here at Sai Baba's birthday in San Francisco, including Stephen Field, who Jody and I got to know real well and interviewed him. And then his death shocked us all. A psychologist who had set up shop in Prashanti, really with Baba's blessings, just about the only person who could do that. He regaled us with stories about how much he loved the Sai Center here in San Francisco.
Stephen Field loved the Sai Baba Center in San Francisco so much that if you were to say, Stephen, how long were you president of the Sai Baba Center in San Francisco? He could tell you years, months, and days. He was so proud of that and was such a strong part of his life. And he was such a wonderful president. He really was a loving, kind, and gentle man, as you know.
He was extremely gentle.
Yes.
I was so happy to have him as a friend for the short period that I knew him in his life. A couple of the highlights for you personally. You're a devout Sai Baba devotee. You've been around this his aura for many, many years now. A silly question, because how Baba has transformed your life for you must have 100 different answers. Maybe a couple of the most important.
The answer may surprise you because it surprises me as I was trying to formulate it. The answer of transformation is that I am with him. He has convinced me, and I deeply believe, and he has told me directly that he's with me, that he's above me, behind me, on my left and on my right. And I believe that the transformation is that belief that he will continue to transform me, because I certainly am not at the level that you were speaking about today. I am not the level that I see everything as one.
Well, I'm not either.
I'm not
I just
there.
talk a good line. I'd like to be there.
I am not there, but the transformation is, he is the first person who had a human body that convinced me that staying with him, with his teachings, being devoted to him, that is my quickest route to get there. And I really want to get there.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm 71 now.
Uh-huh.
And as I know, it could be 7 days away, it could be 7 years away, hopefully not 7 lifetimes away, but
even if it were.
But even if it were, that's so people say, well, Mike, if you're born again,
Mm-hmm.
so assuming that is, my desire, and this is my daily prayer, that I'm born in southern India to a devout Hindu family, and they name me Hanuman. Sai Baba, if you allow time to study him and listen to him, and most importantly, watch what he did, watch what his actions were, watch and measure whether or not what he said and what he did correspond. And if you find that, check around and see how many other people that you know or have experienced or have listened to or read about have such correspondence between what they say you should do and what they themselves actually did. That has always been a magnet for me, that there's such consistency in Satya Sai Baba. And it's,
For those who take the time to look,
you must take the time to look.
there's volumes, countless volumes of his spoken words transcribed that speak the truth, that anybody would be awed by if they only heard it or saw it.
And what is so valuable now is that there are so many devotees who have written books about their experiences with Sai, that I find it inconceivable that there is not one or two that everyone who is listening to this presentation right now could not find that would speak directly to them. Whether it's Diana Baskin, Phyllis Crystal, Sam Samwise, John Hislop, Howard Murfitt, and we can go on the Satya Sai Speaks, the 42 or 43 volumes, the Satya Sai Bahini series, the Summer Showers. The literature is just enormous. The website captures a lot of it, easy to search, and it's available in multiple languages. You can find it in German and Japanese and Spanish, French. It's available in all these languages, Russian, to make it easy to access.
You told an amazingly wonderful story today about how you almost became arrested. And you were for years a captain in the San Francisco police force.
That's correct.
Do you mind telling that story
I'll tell the
briefly?
story.
Okay.
In the early 1990s, in the San Francisco Science Center, 380 Ivy Street, in preparation for our retreat, we would, in the Budgeon area, prepare vibhuti packets. Actually,
I've got one here,
I
lad.
have a vibhuti packet right here.
I've got one just like that today.
we
Our buddy
prepared
Lad gave it to
these
me.
vibhuti packets.
Uh-huh.
And we would have these plastic envelopes, and we would put vibhuti into these plastic envelopes.
Which is ash.
Ash.
And that's called Vibhuti by Sai Baba.
That's correct.
has curative values. It brings you closer to yourself, your true self, and it's just good to have.
So, I was the captain at Park Station. Now, Park Station is in San Francisco's Haight-Ashbury. And there was a epidemic of drug usage, mainly heroin, but there was a little bit of cocaine that was going on in the area in and around where the Sai Baba Center is. So the two captains got together, we put together a task force to try and control this, because it was street heroin that was causing lots of problems, lots of illnesses amongst people who were using it. We put together this task force. Now, one evening, we are in the Sai Baba Center in the main budget area, and we are putting together these packets. A person passed by, saw through the shades a group of individuals putting together powder into these bags.
Of course, that person had no idea they were looking at a police captain from the San Francisco
They had no
Police.
idea. They had no idea what we're doing. The phone call went in, and the sergeant that I had assigned to the detail knocks on the door.
This sergeant works for you, in
He
other
works
words.
for me. He knocks on the door. I open the door. He looks at me. I look at him. We're looking at each other for quite a while, because I'm his captain. He's there thinking he's making a huge heroin raid, heroin bust. So eventually, after we get over the shock, I bring him into the room. Of course, now I have to show him what we're doing. I have him taste this, because they're all experienced. They
And he's
don't-
probably never tasted ash before.
Never tasted ash, but he knows, of course, what heroin or cocaine would taste like. And I have to then explain in a shorter period as I can as to what this is all about. That this is sacred ash. It's Sai Baba Center. We're taking this to a retreat. And I asked him, I said...
Did he buy that story?
No, he did. Of course he did.
Well, he had to, for one thing.
Yeah, and I said, I would very much appreciate it if we could just leave this unsaid, that there's no written report about what happened, and that this doesn't go down in the annals of the San Francisco Police Department as the captain who was almost arrested for putting together heroin in packets in San Francisco.
And of course, we'll keep this private. We won't share it with anybody. Thank you, Mike.
You're
That's a
quite
great,
welcome.
great story. Two final questions. One's terribly silly, so forgive me in advance for asking it, but we're in a Hindu temple in San Francisco in Sunnyvale, and we're about to be evicted because the party is over, but the only space we could commandeer for an interview was the men's bathroom, and here we are, and we're all giggling about it, yet we were able to do it. So did you ever think you'd live to see the day you did an interview on video in the men's bathroom?
I was so engrossed in your questions that I completely lost sight of where we were, although now that you mentioned it, I'm looking around, and sure indeed, it is the men's bathroom, but
The last question is a softball.
yes.
Who is Sai Baba? I'm not asking who he was in his physical form. Who is Sai Baba?
Sai Baba, for me, and me personally, is my spiritual teacher. Now that is what I tell everyone who asks. But if they were asked deeper, some do, some don't, I would say that Sai Baba is the person who in the past, in the present, and in the future, I am tethered to as close as I can be to anything for eternity.
That's
He
a
and I are